say
he's telling me
he'll start barking at you?
Yeah, they'll freaking growl at you. It lets you know that fucking you're in my house now. I'm the dominant guy.
No, I've never heard that.
And I'm like, I'm whipping the bird, and my buddy's laughing his ass off. He's, what are you doing? I said, I'm fucking flipping this fucker off because he's got us. He's got us beat right now. So never did get that sucker, baby.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, it's almost food plot season, Jared, and Deer Grow is one of those products that has really changed the way that we plant food plots and the success we've seen from them.
No doubt. I've been, trying to plant food plots my entire whitetail hunting career, which is a little shorter than yours. But the minute that I started, or that I realized that I could get Deer Grow back into some of these remote plots where I couldn't get lime or fertilizer, especially in the 50-pound bag, format. Mm-hmm. So everything was changed. I could get into these spots moving forward with a backpack sprayer, and that's since escalated to these 40 or 60 gallon sprayers, and we're doing upwards of 5 to 10 acre food plots just with Deer Grow and having phenomenal success.
Yeah, and with the price of fertilizer, lime, diesel, everything this year, what better way to get in there and grow a successful food plot at about a third of the cost? Check out Deer Grow at deergrow.com. And we're back.
Super cereal this time.
Excuse me? HUNTR Podcast episode 97.
What's up, everybody?
Right, Nick? 97?
Yep.
Wearing the same shirt as 96. It's the same day.
I realized
Don't judge me.
that. Yeah.
Are you wearing the same shirt?
Same shirt.
Yeah, don't judge us.
It's deer season.
Yeah.
I didn't even eat anything today. I just said to Nick I'm living off of deer season.
I just drank a coffee like it was going to fill me up. It didn't.
I got some pre-workout waiting for me afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
At the gym.
You think those big bucks appeal to your scrapes more because you got creatine in your pee?
No. In fact, I think that they... Seriously, I don't know if you saw that comment, but
does it glow?
No,
is it supposed to
has
be
nothing
green?
to do with pee.
Like crystals?
Has nothing to do with pee. Yeah, but that's
that's
seasonal. We gotta.
Yeah, those are called kidney stones.
Yeah, right. I passed that, Nick. Dude, there's a class of guys out there that, and my uncle is one of them, that they don't eat red meat. Like,
ooh, so somebody wrote us about that.
That's what I was.
Is that where it came from?
Yeah.
Is that like a real thing?
That's not where it came from. That's just what made me think.
They don't eat red meat during the season or right before they hunt?
During the season.
Holy shit! What do you eat?
Yeah.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Salmon.
White meat, veggies. I don't know. Yeah, salmon. I don't know. Yeah, but I believe somebody can correct us in the comments.
I can't believe that. Like, okay, I understand the red meat, but you can't then go and eat chicken and say, well, it's going to make a difference. You're going to have to go like
I could
straight
be wrong.
vegetarian.
So somebody can correct me on that. But the thinking is that carnivores are predators to deer.
Predator prey.
Predators, consume red meat. They put off a, some kind of an odor that is
out of our skin or out of our pee.
Maybe both.
Mm-hmm.
So the thinking is, hey, don't eat red meat. You won't smell like a predator. Deer won't smell you and or be scared. That's complemented by, and again, my uncle is one of these guys. I don't know if it works or not. I have no idea.
What to ask Dale what he eats.
He takes it as alfalfa pills.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard alfalfa or chlorophyll.
So I think lack of red meat gets you to 0. Alfalfa gets you to 100.
Interesting.
0 to 100. Killing big bucks.
I don't know about that. I eat red meat all the time and I kill big bucks.
Yeah, no, me too. And I'm not going to stop either, so.
No. Anyways, October 11th still.
Yep.
You're listening to this. It's October 25th. Carry the one.
Ish.
25th.
Oh, that's a good day.
Oh, big bucks are dying today.
Today is a good day.
Big bucks may have died this morning. They will be dying this evening as well.
Yes, hopefully by me.
Yes, because we're not actually recording this on the 25th.
You know what I just sub-thought here? I need to buy my PA license.
That will be necessary to hunt Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get on that.
So if this is the 25th, we are just getting back from a shirking off all weekend. Which, by the way, I am going to shirk / rattle my balls off all week in that stand.
Burp, burp,
burp,
burp.
Burp, burp. Yeah, he's a that's what we call shirking off, right? The grunting.
I will have the grunt tube in the pocket.
Yep.
Ready to rip.
I'll be using it. I'll be blind shirking.
Yes. I'll be interested to see. You mentioned earlier that he sent you a map to where you're going to be.
He did. Not your area, my area.
Yours. Did he send you deer? Pictures of deer?
Not yet.
Yeah.
There's probably none there.
Yeah, maybe.
All I know is he sent me a picture of it.
Why?
Here,
Well, I
bring it up
assume
for
it's
you.
because of certain deers there that he'd send you to a certain
I
area.
assume so. Yeah, I hope he's not.
How big
jerking
is
me
the area he
off.
sent you?
Like 10,000 acres.
Yeah.
But that's where I'll be.
10,000 acres.
I'm serious. It probably is 10,000 acres. He's like, let's start by downloading this entire wildlife management unit. I was like, what? He said he hadn't figured yours out yet, but it was not in mine.
Mine must be super
But like,
special.
that's where I mean, you can see all the cameras in the area.
Okay.
There's
Orange is cameras?
huh?
Orange is cameras?
Orange and yellow. I think yellow's cell, orange is regular.
Okay.
And then there's also a couple stands down here.
Okay.
So he just said, this is your area. I was
Are you
like,
ready?
Okay.
Do you have
Huh?
Are you ready? Like, do you have all your stuff together? Are you hunting before then?
Well, I'm making that round trip this week in Ohio, Kentucky, and then I'll come back and I'll be ready.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm gonna hunt this weekend or not. This is my last weekend of like, I'm gonna make one last dash to get all the shit ready, maybe some cameras out, maybe move some stands around, and then I'm done. I'm just fucking hunting.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably be mobile, but I'm trying to get everything for kids, my dad. Like I'm just, got to get everybody else set up too. So, but yeah, this will be the last mad dash. Really, I think the first time I hunt will be with Shirk.
Kind of a whirlwind, man. I think so. Today's Tuesday,
Mhm.
October 11th. I'm gonna hunt Thursday after the rain,
Mm-hmm.
Friday,
Mhm.
and that's our.
Yeah, you have a buck to hunt. I don't right now.
Well,
Although I might go after that 11 point in Kentucky on Friday night.
I don't know if I have a win to hunt them yet or not. We'll see. I'll make a game day
Yep.
decision, but then I don't know what this weekend looks like. I may or may not. I may.
It's gonna be warm Saturday,
So maybe not.
mid
I may just
60s.
back out and do some.
Monday,
shotguns and
I
stuff.
think, is when that big front.
I'm gonna hunt
hits.
Monday. That's right, because I don't know if that front's gonna be through yet or not. Tuesday really looks good, but we gotta close up the Dairy Mart. So
Mhm. And then Thursday we head to the Shirks. Wednesday we head to the
Yeah.
Shirks.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm
Mhm.
Dairy Mart,
Mhm.
and then Wednesday afternoon,
Head to Shirks.
late morning,
Mhm.
we head up, and so we
Start hunting Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday morning. We're hunting mornings and evenings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 different areas, I think.
Cool, dude. I'm excited.
Speaking of which, we're going to be mobile, and we got a mobile guy on the podcast today. The mobile guy, maybe.
Mobile guy, yeah.
The lone wolf. one
Andrae
might say.
D'Acquisto.
Yeah. So we roped in Andrae for who knows how long today.
I've been working on him.
You have, man. You took you spending a little cash to
Yeah.
get the needle moving, but
Yeah.
we nailed him down.
Yeah.
We've got him on. So yeah, we've got Andrae D'Acquisto, and I mean, what a cool way to like hear kind of this evolution of not only his brand, but just this is a guy we talk about all the time who, when you find a guy who's got that bug, that just passion for bow hunting and killing big whitetails, like this is one of those guys for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, just from the outside looking in, like I think there's a lot of unknowns, but it surely seems like he's reached the pinnacle of some goals that he set for himself,
Mm-hmm.
and now son's Cody's, working in the business and kind of building a legacy there. But we'll be super interested to hear what that journey has been like for him and where he's at now in his hunting career. And yeah,
It's Andrae.
let's get him on.
All right, man. Well, we got Andrae here on the podcast. We appreciate you jumping on and taking some Iowa time for us, at least at this point. Sounded like you were having some mechanical troubles anyways on the forklift earlier.
Yeah, so I do a little turn a wrench a few years ago when I was a younger man working in the automobile industry. So we usually have the worst maintained equipment and everything, and we can fix it quick when we need to. So we got
There
the
you
tire
go.
changed and truck unloaded.
I got to say, Andrae, you're a tough man to get a hold of. If I can share the story really quickly here. We've got a mutual friend here in Pennsylvania. Somebody I got to know fairly recently. He's like, oh, yeah, I have my buddy Andrae on. I was like, you know Andrae? I was like, yeah, we'd love to have him on. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll call him. I'll talk to him. So I think he called you twice or whatever. And then I texted you. Dude, I'll go back and count. It was 4 or 5 times. I never got a response from you. And then I went on my own volition, and I promise it wasn't it wasn't for this purpose, but I went and I was like, I got to buy a run gun.
We've got a mobile hunt coming up that we needed.
So I bought a .5 DeQuistio series stand, and I bought 4 sticks, and I texted him a screenshot, and then he texted me back and says, "Oh, hey, did we need to get on a phone call or something?"
So this is a new sales technique now. So all you guys on the podcast, you gotta buy a stand, and then we're
then the contact.
He goes, "Oh, hey, did I miss a text from you or something?"
Oh yeah.
So I'm into good graces now, I think.
It's also October.
You guys are connected now.
Right.
Yeah. It's October. It's tough, man. I mean,
that's funny and shit. I kind of feel bad for this guy.
I appreciate it, man. I would do exactly the same thing if I was in your shoes. So no offense.
All right.
Just make sure the stand gets here.
Yeah, just make sure I get my stand here.
Shit, man.
We'll send you somebody else's stand in a box or something.
Right on.
Timmy? Yeah, I'll take it. Well, cool, Andre. Well, listen, man, we do appreciate you taking some time to talk to us. It's one of those things, I think, that people probably listen to this, and you can go as deep as you want. But, man, I think Jared and I are just really kind of eager to hear, your story on Lone Wolf. I mean, it's one of those things that we always want to hear kind of the background of how things came about. And, maybe the Lone Wolf story has a bunch of twists and turns here recently, but at least, kind of give us the rundown, man. Let's hear it from your own words of how this all came about.
So it started out as a hobby. I was a big trapper. Ended up trying bow hunting one year and just flipped out over running around chasing deer with a recurve on the ground. Then started going to trees and really got bit by the bug big time. One of those stories where it almost ruins your life and your family life, and I just got consumed with the hunting. And as we went on, I did my own stand, designed my own stand, and then I had no other hobbies. So in the off season, I would tinker with my equipment and just redesign and keep making modifications. And it was a climber at that time, no hang-ons back in the day.
Right.
We were from Wisconsin. It was climber country. You can go anywhere up in upper Wisconsin, National Nicolay Forest, all that public land up there was all, miles and miles of it. It had the actual most public land in any county in Wisconsin. So
damn.
We were blessed. We had in-laws that are in-laws now, but my girlfriend's father had a cabin up there, and we were able to bum the cabin out and do some hunting, me and my brother. So it kept developing, making changes. It went from a welded open stand to steel. It went to a movable portable stand. And it's funny that somebody just mentioned, as a matter of fact, I have some of the stands just out in the shop. I went to Wisconsin, one of the rentals there, and up in the rafters, I pulled my first climbers out. And you realize my first 2-piece climber folded 2.5 inches flat back then in the 80s.
Holy shit.
Seat integrated to the platform. And the weight wasn't, obviously it was a lot higher, but it's weird. A lot of that technology was already, was already done back in the day. So, long story short, kind of kept building. So many guys kept hitting me up for stands, wanting to buy them. So I'd make, 25, make a few more. And then it got to be a business. And
is this in the 80s still, Andre, or are you moving into the 90s at this point?
That was so in '84 we trademarked it. My wife actually, or girlfriend at the time, my wife figured out the name, and then we registered and we started. I worked full time. My brother was working full time, and he was working part time for me, and just constantly working. So kept dumping money into it, and just again, it was a hobby. I liked the sport. I like the people.
Yeah.
And I go to all these little shows just like we do now and visit with guys and bullshit with them and sell them a stand. So then it got bigger and bigger. And then we got into that casting is where it really turned into, I think, a bigger business.
Absolutely.
Went from wood. Well, here's what happened. The whole industry was wood and aluminum.
Yeah.
And everybody went to aluminum when I had the best goddamn wood and aluminum stand in the market. And I'm sitting there again now behind the whole curve and 30 other companies all welding steel together, welding aluminum. So then I had to try to think of something a little better. And I ended up coming up with that casting. And then once we did that, that kind of left them, looking to do the next best thing. And then you can go back and I think that marketers are going to do that in the near future. There's nothing in this industry right now in tree stand designs that hasn't been touched by something I developed back in the day, either patented or came up with, and it's all the manufacturers are utilizing our technology.
That's crazy.
And they're still using it. So it's kind of a pat on the back there that it had it right back then. But even my hang-ons, when I first started doing hang-ons, the customer got our 9.5 pound hang-on. I was running with a machined bottom off a casting that was a 7.5 pound stand, seat trimmed down, just lean and mean, with screw and steps. And then we developed the climbing sticks, obviously.
Yep.
And all of the stuff, hunting low. I was hunting low back in the day. Just running and gunning, stay out of the bedding area bullshit. Man, I was just busting all the rules all the way up and having success with it. So
yeah.
It's funny now, everybody is doing the same thing. And they love tinkering with their equipment.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys got some phenomenal, great ideas. I'm using some of their little ways that they modified our stuff. Come up with, not using the straps on the sticks, putting them in bags and things of that nature. So what I think I'm doing now more than anything in business is listening to what our customers want. Because we're back in the day, there wasn't a lot of really serious guys hunting.
Sure.
And now you got guys just like me, meticulous, anal about their equipment, and modifying and just making, everybody wants the best stuff for their sport, whether you're golfing or hunting or whatever the hell it is, fishing. Christ, my brother's a big time fisherman. He freaking polishes his freaking lures, dude, with wax. I mean, talk about nuts, right? So, I guess I'm that anal on another level with the whitetail equipment, but I learned early on having your shit together was half the game.
That's it, man.
Being able to just grab your shit, go, and then I think when it got crazy, somebody wrote an article years ago on me, and they dubbed it like a whitetail hunting machine, and the machine was an extension of this equipment I was using.
Yep.
And almost like without it, you're not that efficient guy, and that equipment that's your most important piece of hunting equipment to me as a tree stand. If I were to forget one thing, I'd rather forget my bow than my stand, because I'd see more shit hunting out of a stand and getting more scouting in than a lot of people think their most important equipment is. So and it missed all my kids' communions, baptisms, you name it. I just got.
Are there more kids, Cody, or than just Cody? I mean, Cody's the one we know.
No, I got two daughters.
Okay.
Two older siblings, and then he has a younger brother. Ashley, obviously, she's part owner in this and runs this business on the back end, and she's a hunting fool just like we both are, and the other two are into fishing and things of that nature. So
very cool.
And my youngest son's a gun enthusiast. He loves just hammering, bullets at the target. So and fishing on that end. So we have a pretty big family. But while we were going up and moving forward, my wife, all our friends were building new houses, driving new cars. We're freaking just busted and just kept shoveling money
into the business. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she looked at me and she numerous times said, "Are you doing the right thing?" I said, "All the numbers, they all crunch and they add up. We just gotta, And then one year you end up with inventory. Your money's all in aluminum. You can't eat that.
Yeah.
Can't buy gifts with that for Christmas. And then you get more efficient as you go. And I think we got a pretty good handle on it now. Where we're going. And then I kind of retired, for a few years. I even stopped filming for a couple years. And I think with the ignition of Cody getting involved in it, your dad's a plumber, you end up being a plumber, your dad's a machinist, you end up a machinist. Who'd ever thought my kid would end up being a tree stand designer and selling stands for a living? So he's with us full time. And I think the extension of him being younger in energy and with the same name, same last name, I think he rekindled this whole lone wolf,
man,
type of stuff, and I probably wouldn't have the energy, obviously, to do it myself alone. And now it's on fire, man. We are just killing it. The quality of stuff too.
We've seen it, man.
Tons of money into it, So.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. You think that having Cody involved in the business for, I don't know what it's been now, 5-10 years, has that reignited your passion for not just the tree stand industry, but for bow hunting?
I've always had a passion for bow hunting. I kind of run a lot of rope. You probably heard the story of when I started out. My first Hope and Young was 125 and an eighth, and all the way up to 181 inch buck. I never killed a deer smaller in a previous year. I always increased my score. I would know where a 155 was. And never once has the score of a deer that I killed backed up. It's always been a little, because I'd know where those deer were, another 150 inch buck, let's say, if it was at that time. And there'd be one that I'd want bigger, and that would be 155, and I'd be passing up this 150 to kill this 150. It just got in my head with score, and
I had never heard that.
We
talk about that all the time.
Yeah, we talk about that evolution, Andre, and it's like it's hard for us to sit back and hear guys, and no offense to him, but like a John Eberhart just kill 125s year in and year out. And it's like, well, dude, what's the next challenge for you?
Dude, do you know how many 125 inch bucks I could kill in a year?
Yeah,
literally 300 of them. I got when I retired, and my kids, we got back involved in XOP. They hunt the same property I hunt here. They started pulling out, and I was filming for just fun. So they wanted to get some tapes and they were going to do whitetail addictions for XOP for a little bit. They found some tapes in there, and they put one in, and I passed up literally $5 in the 160s and one frickin'. Where the hell is this on this frickin' property? They're saying, it's those little
over there,
bachelor groups. And so what I did is I just kept raising the bar, and then pretty soon I got where I ran out of rope. It got to be so big it was. Two of the bucks that I shot in Wisconsin missed the state record 2 different years by less than 1.5 inches.
Damn.
So I'm good at number 2. A lot of people don't know either that I shot a buck in Illinois years ago that would have been a number 2 for the state there. And the scoring over there decided to rescore it because of this common base bullshit. And they knocked the score down, or I would have had the number 2 in Illinois for a year. So I did hear something too on this. You mentioned Eberhart, his name. He was on a. Maybe we can clear that up right here and now too. This will be a good one for you guys. You'll get a lot of guys wanting to listen to this podcast.
Go for it, dude.
So I met him years ago at a show, and I never heard of him, never knew who he was, and wasn't being an ass about it. So that's when one of my buddies says, "Well, like he doesn't know who you are. He made like he didn't know my name on this last podcast." But anyhow, it's probably was still bent from that. But where he came about, it was in Michigan, and I was more probably on a little more over a national scheme. But he had mentioned that I shot all my deer on like a game farm here. I have a lot of really serious hunters that hunt a lot of the same property I have and don't do as well as I do. And for the record, all my big deer have been shot in 3 different states and are some of the biggest deer in those states. So it's not like I'm hunting one piece of ground that I know inside and out. And I've killed a ton of deer on public ground before public ground got personal and are popular. And I want to let you guys know this right here and right now. I used to go to public land to get a break from pressure. So when I was coming up, I'm hunting 10 acres of frickin' property with 10 other frickin' guys and getting it done every year on that. So if you want pressure, I can show you pressure on private land, and I've hunted public land that I'd never, and I was smart enough to say, hey, I will never go back to the Buckhorn National Forest or the Nicolet National Forest, which I hunted one year opening gun season. That was like being in Vietnam. And not for me, and I'm sure I could go in there and shoot all kinds of mediocre small bucks.
Right.
But that's not what I was about. So I had what I set out to do took me down different paths.
Sure.
So, we have some leases. I own some property. I have permission on a bunch of properties. I have to go where a caliber deer that I'm after is on. And I'll tell you, in Wisconsin on public land, I just about closed the deal on the state record there one year when another guy got it. It ended up beating my number 2 out and ended up being number 1, 186 inch bucket was typical. So I was on to that deer on public land, and that's why I was hunting that public land, because there was deer of that caliber. But to me, going out and hunting 125 inch class deer on public is not a challenge at all. even with other guys in there, it's not a challenge. And I don't care who you are, 125-inch deer is small on public land and it's small on private land to me.
What do you think?
It may not be when you start, you know.
Andre, what do you think gets people like? Why would guys like Eberhard get so excited over that kind of a deer? Like, what do you think? I mean, he literally told us, he's like, I will not hunt public or private land. I will always hunt those deer, heavy pressured public.
The thing that has to be taken into account here too is difference of state. So
sure.
I mean, John is obviously in Michigan,
and the state and the piece that he's on might be just hammered with guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, if it's that hammered with guys, you probably are not going to be as consistent as he is. There's something that you settle in, and a lot of these guys hunting these public grounds, dude, they're hunting ground that they could hunt for a week and never see another hunter on it. And it's, you know, so-called public ground, but they're having, or you're bragging about being on a public ground and you're hunting in a conservancy that only 5 guys ever in the history of the conservancy were able to hunt it. That's more private than any private ground. What is the fascination with that? I mean, to me, it's not any.
Yeah.
It's easier, you know, to kill a buck on that.
Andre, I think where Jeremy and I struggle to see eye to eye with guys that are, you know, have the Eberhard mindset of like, well, I'm going to kill the best deer that I can, you know, in my nook of the woods here. I think Jeremy and I are very, and maybe it's because we're young, maybe it's because we, you know, we share some goals of wanting to hunt giant deer. Is that we're going to go to where they're at. You know, you can't kill a big buck if they're not there. You know, we say that all the time here, and so. You know, somebody like that who's like, well, I just kill the best deer that I can in my nook of the woods every year. We're like, well, why? Go somewhere else. To where there's a bigger one.
Well, so I would do that when I had nothing else to hunt, but because I was a score guy, I was left empty without. So imagine being a private land hunter, having 20 acres to hunt, and there's nothing on there you want to kill.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to have a better advantage? Some guy that gets to go on a public land, thousands of acres, who's going to find a freaking deer that you can kill?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've wandered back and forth between the two. And up in upper Wisconsin, up in the northern, dude, we used to hunt. We'd go for weeks and not see guys. And then, you maybe haven't heard this story either, but me and my brother had our climbers up there. And one day we were there, and it was starting to get busier and busier the years. And 2 guys were headed in deeper than we were, and they both had lone wolf fucking stands on their back. And I said, we're in trouble, man.
We created some monsters,
brother. So, but it was exciting to see that. You know, it was it was fun in that. But to go back, I think he's trying to make the statement that he's the best bow hunter in the world because of that. And dude, I got a Rolodex of friends that and some of them do not want people to even see what kind of deer they're killing.
Right.
There are a lot of really freaking good hunters in this country, buddy. And there are some guys that are just can get it done and get it done anywhere. So I started out just like you guys did, young. My first deer was like I could fit a grapefruit. My first buck was a little 8-point. You could fit a grapefruit between this rack, and I was excited about it. And I killed a bunch of little deer like that, going up to 115s and 20s. But something happened with that record when it was the first Pope and Young, and something just triggered my head. And I was always an athlete and always a goal setter. So it made my passion now almost like a little more exciting to do that hunt, you know, so to hunt it that way. And then I got into elk hunting, and I was an athlete. And then that's a combination of bow hunting and athleticism. None of this holding back and, you know, taking it easy on there. So I loved that for years. A couple buddies of mine said they, you know, he still can't run one down, but he's getting real close to be able to. I would just freaking go at him hard, and I've just about shot an elk on every freaking hunt I've been on. So, but back to what I wanted to clear up on that. So one thing, all my top end deer are in different states, different properties, and the other thing was about scent control. Where the hell this guy ever got the idea that I'm not about scent control? Fucking, I don't know, because I am so freaking anal about. I wash my hands before I go to the bathroom. I wash my hands after. I won't wear a fucking shirt through a full day of. My wife wants to freaking wring my neck. Yeah. My grandkids come and start pawing on me, man. I'm washing my hands. It's personal hygiene to start with, but my hunting regimen is no different. I just don't buy into gimmicky shit that I know does not work. I have a system that fucking works that over the years, I've just figured out that it works better than that, and with no sense. And I'm all over a property. I'll beat the shit out of it. I'll put more pressure than 10 guys on public ground do. But where I find my ambush spot is what I call a virgin sit. It is completely clean, and nothing's coming into that spot that's going to know anybody's been there. And I'm right there to crack them over the head. And that's worked the best for me over the years. Complete and utter surprise. Some of these deer will come out on this property looking around like, where the hell is this guy? I know he's in here. I know he's after me, but he ain't gonna have a clue when it comes time. And some of the other guys that were thrown under the bus are way better hunters, in my opinion. And they didn't all start out in premium properties. They got successful. They were able to buy, just like me, a bigger piece of ground. But they were in the trenches too, and they were pretty damn good hunters coming up through. So I wouldn't throw anybody under the bus, and I would never bastardize anybody for shooting small deer, smaller bucks. Man, if I would give everything I have on the wall to go back and hunt that same year that I actually did not even kill a buck, when I was just out chasing whitetail around with a bow.
Yeah.
If I could tap into that feeling again, I would give up all of the shit I got on the walls for another hunt like that, because that's what drives you.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it before on other podcasts. It's like a heroin addict. You never get that first high you get.
Mm-hmm.
You're always chasing it. You never get it back, but you want it. You're for it.
So Andrae, where are you at now? Like in this, the pursuit of bigger and bigger antlered deer. Is that something that you're still on, or is that something that at some point
that tapped out when it? My biggest, non-typical is a 216. My biggest typical is a 201. And
there's no more rope there, man.
Come on, bro. You could do better.
Yeah, I don't rope. So
yeah.
Here's what's exciting about 90% of the time I go out and there's not the caliber I want to hunt or whatever. I'm looking to, try and find something or whatever. I'm never in a kill mode like I used to be.
Yeah.
And now I got these new broadheads I'm testing out. Last year I shot 2 deer. I probably wouldn't have shot if it wasn't for the broadheads. And it is fun to go out again with the intent that I'm going to kill something, with the bow and arrow. They're still going to be decent deer, but I can use the excuse now that I'm doing it for field testing.
Yeah, field test. Yeah.
But I'm still, I've been in the game with 2 typical, which would have been, in my opinion, typical world record whitetail. Got my ass kicked on both of them. For one guy in his lifetime to have an opportunity, or just one was in Illinois, one was in Iowa, just happened to be on the same piece, all the moon aligning. One was on my own property. What's the chance of that?
Huh.
But I've pretty much given up on that's probably not going to happen. Maybe it'll happen in my son's lifetime, but I would have loved to, held that title for at least once in my life. And it's anybody, dude, at 204 and some change, it's anybody's game, brother. Yeah, you guys can come out to Iowa and kill a buck of that caliber, because they're in every state every year. They're finding sheds. They kill them with guns every year, so they're out there. But that's the record right now.
With a bow.
204-inch
typical.
Yeah, that's your typical bull record.
And that's a net score.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a net. And dude, I got deer right here I can put right next to Mel Johnson's frickin' deer, and actually look probably a little more impressive. They're built that way.
Wow.
So what drives you now, Andrae? I mean, is it like a specific history with a deer on your property, or?
I mean, I hunted one a couple years here that I did have some history with. It was a non-typical heavy, but anything that would get me out, get me excited. Now, what drives me is and it's tough. I like to have my shit together in a system, but designing so many different products.
Yeah.
There's guys that on my team now that I've known for years, good friends, that have been on whitetail addictions, and I've been, over the years. I can count on those guys that using the product is, this is jagged up, or they don't tell me what I want to hear. They tell me what I need to hear. So that's a real friend. So I'm out testing double steps. I'm doing the new I got 2 of the new compacts with the molly hooks, and I literally mixed 2 in with molly hooks now, and the 2 older version in a 4-pack. They're all compact sticks, and I do stupid shit like that on purpose to field test. So now I find myself wanting to use grabbing the 2 mollies, and I wish I had 2 more of the mollies. So now I know that these advancements that I'm making are better. They're improvement.
Right.
So we don't do any gimmicky freaking improvement shit here with
It's all got to be efficient and functional.
Yes, functional. And then I'm Italian, man, so it's got to look good, and our shit looks good. So, right? So, but no, I would. You guys are on the right track. I met a kid, and what appeals to me about most people is not. There's a lot of guys shoot a lot of big deer. There's a lot of guys. I've never run into anybody that loved bow hunting more than me. I thought I had the ground floor in it, and I ran into a kid when I was coming up, Todd Pritzing from Michigan.
Yeah.
And the thing, and a lot of the guys that I get along when I meet and I become friends with, they all have what I have. It's not the ability to go out and kill a lot of big deer or a lot of deer, just the love of this fucking sport, the chase.
Mm-hmm.
And I met he was the only kid that I've met that I think probably loved whitetail hunting more than I did.
Yeah.
Straight school. Yeah. I mean, that kid would frickin' had a gleam in his eye so he come from Michigan. He was a big scent lock suit user. And he was starting to hunt Illinois, and he had some pretty good leases, and got to know him there a little bit. And I sat him down and had a conversation with him, and I told him, man, I just had to tell him the way it is, and he listened. And his first year of listening, he shot a 140 something there on one of our leases, and he started killing deer consistently because he got off this bullshit. What happens when you think you got the game figured out and you could beat a whitetail's nose?
Yeah.
Is you think you got the game figured out and you could beat a whitetail's nose.
Yeah.
You can't fucking beat their nose. So you better bring your A game every time you're in, and your setups need to be clean, and you need to be on. It's daunting task, man, at a 4-month long season, every morning, every evening in a different post, hunting and going after it. It's not easy shit. It should be an athletic freaking or an Olympic sport,
Mm-hmm.
But once you learn, and I've had other guys, you can see the light bulb goes off in their head, and they figure it out, and they just start getting consistent, and they start getting good. And then they start developing, like my son is their own style that
Sure.
What works for me might not work for you. And I had a friend tell me that once before that on some of our leases, some of these guys are going in there and thinking they can do what you and Cody do. They think they can go in there and run all over this place. We know where to step, where not to step. We know some things that they probably don't. So you got to walk before you run. And if you figured something out and it works for you, start going down that rabbit hole, man. It's like fishing. You get a pattern in there, start replicating that pattern around, and pretty soon you get it figured out. So
the HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt Archery.
Dude, where would we be without our Hoyt bows?
Probably shooting crossbows.
or a Matthews, yeah.
One and the same.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, we love being Hoyt guys because you stand out. When you're in this room full of other people that shoot these other types of bows, I feel like the Hoyt guys just stick out.
Dude, it's just a legit bow. I mean, especially that carbon riser, man. I mean, I know that they've got several other aluminum lines as well, but for me, I'm shooting that RX-5 in the carbon model. They've since come out with the RX-7, and I can't tell you how much I love being a Hoyt guy amongst a sea full of Matthews guys. So we're out there, I think, proving them wrong, shooting 80 pounds and killing stuff.
Hey, man, if you want to get serious, get Hoyt. So, Andre, clear that up for us. So you're not afraid, like right now, it's we're filming this October 11th. You're not afraid to go and stomp around on your property. It's just when you go into the spot that you plan on killing, you have not been in that area.
So I always take it. I used to say I call it taking it too far.
Okay.
I would scout, especially for an evening post. I'm trying to get as close to a bed in October. In October, if you're not fucking right up a deer's ass, a big bucks, these huge deer, you could be might as well be a million miles away because you're 50 yards out of it. Yeah. So I got one right now that I just found, and the son of a bitch is literally living in a quarter block area. He's in there. He's bedded in there. He's hanging in there. He'll see does out of there and he'll bark at him a little bit, and frickin' there's some other bucks and snortweeds at him, but he's staying in there, and I'm on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to go in and bump him because I know where he's at, and
right.
I'm trying to manipulate him coming out of it and coming into it. and he's coming in right now with the moon phase of shit. He's, out after dark and in right at sunup. So I'm working that edge. Now that's gonna ease up. As the season starts going a little further now, and now they're starting to check scrape. And you can even see on your cameras, all of a sudden now there's some big food plot. We got food plots on here. Haven't seen one of these big deer. I got all these pictures of these bucks on this property. Not one of them's in food plots yet.
Yeah.
They're living in the corn. They're living wherever the hell they're bedding, where they're feeding. And now they're starting to loosen up a little bit and travel out of those areas. So to your point, yes, I've walked too far on the evening post and I bumped them out of the beds. I've actually been eye to eye at 2 feet with huge bucks that I just made eye contact with, and they literally did not bust out of there until I made eye contact. If I would have looked the other way and backed out,
they would have stayed.
It looks like a rabbit that you step on before it leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So these deer, more than scent than everything, are watchers.
Yeah.
They're sight and their vision big time, and they're manipulators. You hear nocturnal? I've hunted deer that turn nocturnal on and off in a day's notice. Too much pressure, or the one day you're there, yeah, they go nocturnal. You're not there. The farmer tells that son of a bitch is out running all over at 2:30 in the afternoon. Where the hell are you at?
Yeah,
I'm on a different farm. That's why he's out there running around. If I was at that farm, he'd probably be freaking held up again. So, and to get that confidence, you're gonna need to put 40 years in, buddy, and blow a lot of deals.
Yeah. Before
you know it. And I really don't give a shit if I'd rather be in the game than not. So
yeah. Well,
getting back on the sidelines ain't the answer,
Well, and that's where I think, a lot of people listening to this, Andrae, will say, well, it's early October, like I'm being super conservative, and I get not wanting to bump him, but man, you got to know where he is, and at least if there's one you even want to kill.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. I as long as I know that, so the one I was after initially, I don't know if he got shot during the youth season or whatever, and I have not had another picture of him, but this other one that moved in might be a more dominant deer, and that's where he is. He's bumped off to a different part of the property. So, like I said, there's 2 shooters, and I'll just hunt them both, work them both as I can, and try and get, that's all we're doing, guys. And it's as simple as this. That's all you have to do is capture one small moment in time. With all the work, all the shit, that's all it takes is one slip up. So this deer maybe is in there. I could hear him in there. He's not getting up, not coming out of there enough for me. One day a coyote runs through there, a pack of coyotes runs in there and bumps him out of there, or something causes him to make that move or whatever it is, and I'm there. And I take advantage of that, So normally if I bump something out of a bedding area, you gotta get that set in right then that day. You don't come back in and set it another day. Have the stand there so when when the conditions are correct the same as it is, then you can dive in an hour and a half before dark and be in the game instead of trying to bump them out of there. So
this is the bump and dump, right? Is it? We've obviously heard of this.
Yeah, it's so a bump and dump a lot of times will be that I don't even have a lead on a big deer or deer where they're at, and I got to find one, so I'll be just scouting.
Not usually intentional, right? Like you're not going in.
No. I bumped the shit out of deer intentionally, and then
okay.
I load woodlots. I manipulate deer. I move them around. If deer are not moving and the moon phase is shit.
That's the second time you've mentioned it, Andrae. Can you touch on that real quick? Are you just talking about full moon? They're moving late at night, or something?
Full moon? Yeah, sort of. The moon phases up to a full are your best probably phases where out moving around active in normal feeding times toward dark, and they're active. Some of these shitty phases are where they're not moving around. They might be moving at noon.
Okay.
Or completely after dark, and you got red hot sign, you're in there, you're doing all the work right, everything's right, and you think you should be seeing deer. Years ago without cameras and that, people that know that, and I'm looking at scratching my head, what am I doing wrong? And it was because of that they're just, if deer are not moving, I have some properties that are so loaded with deer, and you can hunt them for half a week, and you swear to God there wasn't a deer in the property.
Yeah.
Because they're just not getting up moving. And a deer that's not getting up moving, you're not killing. So on those times, I'll purposely, I call it stirring the pot.
Yep.
I'll go kick the shit out of everything, do some major scouting, get them motherfuckers up off their feet, and then jump in a stand. And you know what? I got action and nobody else does.
And you
because their deer are still bedded down because they're tidbitting around or taking it easy on them, or
yeah. And you think the I don't know about the main, but you think a major factor in that is the moon phase.
Yeah, they're just not moving. Well, this time of year bedding where they're feeding. They're not making a big. I always call it the spokes on the wheel. They're at the hub right now, and they're staying tight to the hub.
Yeah.
You're out on that one of those spokes. You might as well forget about it because you ain't seeing that.
Yeah.
That deer won't be on that spoke until every third day or at 2 a.m. or whatever. So
we've talked to a lot of guys who are red moon guys, which basically just means when it's overhead or underfoot within a few hours of dawn or dusk. I mean, is that essentially what you're looking for?
You see the hat I'm wearing?
Say again?
You see the hat I'm wearing?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so yeah, exactly what we're talking about then.
Yeah, red moon. So it's got to do. It's really complicated. I know it inside and out because I've been hunting the moon phases before the moon chart was even out.
It doesn't seem that complicated. I mean, we had Adam Hayes on and he explained it to us, and we're like, before that, I didn't understand that a red moon was just when it's overhead or underfoot within a few hours of,
right. And I think your red on his charts is overhead, and the blacks would be underfoot. But so that's your high movement. But so what you got to throw into this scenario, which gets into an advanced learning of the moon phase.
Help us out, man.
Throw in weather.
Yep.
And you got to throw in the breeding, because this moon phase is all about it's about moving for feeding, and whitetail that are freaking looking for does. Some of them ain't got feeding on their mind, so they're doing some different things. So you can take that along with what you know about weather patterns, high pressure. Take what you know about aggressive rut behavior, and you got to use a mix of that. That's why my son, he understands that, and he kind of leaves, that moon phase, even though he believes and he knows it's happening, but he will never let a moon chart stop him from going and doing what the sign is reading and going in. And I'm the same way.
You are.
It's just part of the information you have, part of the puzzle that you get to is an advantage. So you gotta start watching all of that stuff, and then these guys that are rut hunters and these public land type hunters, I can go on public land in Wisconsin in a 4-day period. There could be 30 of us in there in a 40-acre plot, and there'll be even sure buck that's going to come through there, and he ain't going to give a fuck if there's 40 of us in there. He's coming no matter what, so that's the time I'm going to hunt that spot. I'm not going to sit with 40 guys or 10 guys on 40 acres in early October. That's suicide, because them deer are not going to tolerate a lot of shit. Yeah. I've walked up to deer with a bow in my hand almost that I couldn't get anywhere near early season that fucking wanted to kill me. I almost put an arrow on the ground. So when in Rome, do as a Roman. So you got to change up.
Yeah. Well, Andre, what do you say to those guys? Because we've obviously got a ton of mixed opinions on the moon. It's one of the most highly debated things. Like, what do you say to somebody other than locus on my wall? Because how can you argue with that?
I don't give a shit if you don't follow the move. As a matter of fact, I hope you don't follow the move if you're my neighbor.
Yeah.
Or you're on the same piece around me. I don't give a shit if you understand it or not. I'm saying I learned that early on my own. I never read it. I never seen it. I was a field edge hunter, and I'm a real observationist. I'm like a big whitetail. I sit back and I watch, and I read what's going on. And Adam Hayes is the same type of guy. He'll sit and he'll look before he moves, and he'll make a move. So just like I get into a spot, I read the sign, and I know these deer are coming out of there, and I move in for a kill close, and I never see any deer. And then I move back, and they're still doing the same thing. So I sit back and I watch, and these son of a bitches are coming through there. But when I go down there, they see me. They're on a freaking mountain watching me. And I don't know if you ever had it happen. A dominant deer will see you from the bottom, and he'll bark at you, and he'll start freaking growling at you. And I had a friend out here said, "What the hell is that?" I says, "That's that goddamn buck that's living on top of that mountain. I can't get anywhere near that son of a bitch, and he fucking sees us down here right now."
You say he'll start barking at you?
Yeah, he'll freaking growl at you. It lets you know that fucking you're in my house now. I'm the dominant guy.
No, I've never heard that.
And I'm like, I'm whipping the bird, and my buddy's laughing his ass off. He's, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm fucking flipping this fucker off because he's got us. He's got us beat right now." So never did get that sucker bait us. Never did get him. Could never get in on that mountain to hunt him in the morning. He was literally like a goat on the side of a cliff. So you keep trying to find, some deer are unkillable. Yeah. Those are your challenging one, and some just roll over. Yeah. And play dead. Now there's bullshit of these deer on these big pieces are freaking like tame pets or freaking. That's just if you think that, you don't know whitetail at all.
Yeah, no
A
doubt.
mature deer, even a 1.5 year old deer that gets hammered heavy too, they turn, and elk the same thing. You think they're easy? When they get hunted, it's not that they get smart. They get the reactions and they know how to beat the game, get the hell out of Dodge. So
No doubt.
So I'm trying to think if I've ever read any pieces that were really a cakewalk, and I don't know. And I'm probably my own enemy too. So I'm not keeping my land as a sanctuary.
Yeah.
I'm not keeping food plots in that we could easily hunt off of.
Yeah.
My food plots are to hold animals and to for maintaining rack growth. So, and I like a challenge. So, dude, I'll kick a deer up out of his bed and I'll piss in it and let him know I'm coming, So,
yeah. Well, dude, I think that's one of the things that people find so, like, mystifying about the lone wolf is like, how can you be so aggressive with your strategies, but also, I sense that you're acknowledging that some of these things just aren't killable, or they're super smart. So it's like, man, what are some things you could share with us to walk that line of aggressively, carefully hunting, a big mature buck?
Confidence, brother.
Yeah.
I got enough confidence for everybody in the room. Fucking, I just, I know what I know. And I know if something, like if I go in and set up on something and a deer don't show, and the moon's right and everything's right and I know it's right and you don't show it, I know it's nothing I did. And I just think of what could have been. Did a coyote bump them? Did somebody else, some other hunter bump them?
Yeah.
Something changed the pattern that I read. I never think that I fucking read it wrong. I always think I get it 100%. And I've done that. I've done it in the Northwoods where I could literally go scout, set up, be able to kill a buck, leave, scout, set up, kill a buck. And I could just do it setup after setup after setup. That's why I don't get it. If a guy just wants to kill a goddamn deer, that should be easy if it's not one you're after. That's if you're just looking for like a deer to shoot.
Right.
But here you want to make it interesting, then go after the certain deer that's on maybe living on that public or that one animal you want to kill. Now, I've done that with a ton of guys on private land, and I come out with a deer and they don't. And we're hunting, I'm hunting that specific deer. If I just want to go shoot 140 inch animal, I'll just go scout out buck sign, right, jump on it, and shoot the damn deer when it comes through. Right. But I'm not, I'm not out for that right now. I'm still filming for Whitetail Addiction. I'm still looking to. Now it's I like that net Boone and Crockett. I know 200 inches is the big buzz phrase now. But I think a net 170 deer is as big as they get, man. It's an impressive animal. Most of mine are normally 4.5, 5.5 years old. If you've made it 4.5, 5.5 years old in the whitetail woods, you're doing pretty good, So
yeah, I'm starting with gross. I shot my first gross. He was 170 even last year in Ohio.
That's as big as they get, brother. Actually, 150 inch cage, depending upon how it lays, it's a damn good animal.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know. So you shot. Did you have a chance to see the deer before it came in, or did it all happen quick?
Oh yeah, I saw him.
Okay, so I don't know if it happened that way, but here's how I decided.
Well, let me say this, Andre. I had one series of pictures of him, maybe a week before.
Oh, so you already had, yep.
Yeah, he was passing by, and I was kind of like, not a giant frame. He's like 18.5 inside, but he's a mainframe 12 with double split brows. Oh, yeah. And so deer's built for scoring. And when I saw him in person, this is the advantage of trail cameras, I instantly recognized him. So he popped out. It was November 3rd, 4:30 in the afternoon, popped out on a food plot, and he's looking right through me.
Okay, so let me ask this. So that one doesn't have that intense cage, but when he first popped out, did you see a deer or did you see a rack? Think about it a minute.
Did I see a deer or did I see a rack?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you when you first seen that deer? Did you instantly see just a fucking rack coming, or did you see a deer coming and then look and see the rack?
I saw a deer coming.
Okay, so that's because you got an 18-inch inside spread.
Yeah.
That you said it's built to score. I'm going to tell you, when you see a shooter, when you see a freaking rack and you got to look to find a deer underneath it, you got yourself a freaking dandy.
Well, that's how
buddy.
that 8-point's going to be.
I've got about 160-inch 8-point that I'm hoping to catch up with. Yeah.
So I got a 174-inch 8 that's on. I've moved it into my living room because my buddy said you got to put that in there. It's next to 180-inch typicals. they were so impressive until that 8-pointer got put right next to them. Now they look like little bitches in the room next to them. So
yeah, well, that's why I'm always afraid to take mine to the taxidermist, dude, because I know guys are killing giants. And when I take my 18.5-inch spread, 12-point down there that I'm all jacked off about, he's got a 3 or 4 other 180, 190-inch bucks that have been killed that day. That I'm like, oh, yeah, cool, guys.
So back in the late 80s, somebody had, or I think it was Cabela's or somewhere, they had a display, and there was the world record 8-pointer. It was actually a 9-point deer, 28 inches inside spread.
Jeez.
Beams the size of my biceps. It was the most impressive, monstrous cage that you'd ever seen in your life. And just the tines were like bats, but there wasn't a lot of them. Yeah. So that's impressive, but I'm a Mr. Clean, typical 12 boy. I'm just thinking of you bastard. You got a 12-pointer. I love 12-point typical.
I'm gonna text you a picture of them.
Yeah.
I love a clean typical 12 and just stacked in there. And the one that I hunted would have been, I would have put him at 215. That typical was a typical 12, and the last tines out were literally 10-inch long. The thing was just freaking built.
10-inch long G5s.
Yes.
You
could, and on one side, and it was a goofy rack. Because one side they were all even.
Yeah.
You could put a board across them all. And the other side they were all curved, but knowing what I know about scoring, it don't matter. It had everything it needed on both sides, clean. Probably a 19-inch wide. Not a big cage, but like a picket fence, man. Just built to score and shit. And nobody ever killed that deer. Nobody ever found the sheds.
Isn't that crazy to you, Andre? I mean, you think about deer like that and how like it just vanishes. Like who knows what happened to it?
I think some of these deer of that caliber get poached. I think there's still guys out that don't have loose lips. I've heard rumors of, we talk about, these guys are trying to, who's the best hunter and all that shit.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. The best hunter's probably coming up. He's some young kid just getting started, but there was rumor of a guy who had 4 200-inch net typicals under his belt, and nobody has ever seen his fucking deer. They're in his basement. The only guy that seen the deer was a high school friend that they grew up all their lives together, and they're sitting in some guy's basement somewhere. And if it's a true story, there's a pretty impressive fucking hunter there.
Well, and I mean, you assume if it is a true story, it's because he doesn't want anybody to know where he's hunting. And if they know him, they know where he's hunting.
Yeah, guess what? I got on a piece of ground that probably I think he took some of them because this thing had world-class freaking deer at his property. And then I learned some stuff about that too now, what produces world-class deer, because there are things that there are properties that produce these world-class deer that I've had privy to that are no different than the properties up the road or next to them. So it's all got to do with high protein, minerals, and things of that nature. And I believe now. So when I was coming up, when you guys were there, our state record was 177, dude. State record bow kill 177. You know how many 177 bucks are shot now with bow a year in these states?
A lot.
I believe a lot of deer got out of pens and genetics have got mixed into nationwide. I believe it 100%. That's where we're getting the caliber. And don't get me wrong, management has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
a really lot to do with it. But I still think there's some of them genes that were.
It absolutely does happen, dude. I have a good buddy that shot a buck that got out a couple of years ago in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
But they talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, two of the world record.
And he knew the guy.
Two of the world record non-typicals were pen deer. They were just out in the wild for 2 years.
You're kidding. And they're in the book now?
No, you can't put them in the book. I don't know if they ever made it to the book or not, but I don't think you can. Well, I don't know if it was fair chase. I don't know how that works with that part of it, but
that can't be right. It can't have ever been in a high fence.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
No, this guaranteed this deer was. A matter of fact, it was funny because there was a YouTube thing on. A guy had a picture of a 200-inch buck that he shot, and somebody else showed a picture 2 years earlier with a tag in that deer's freaking ear and getting a game farm. So how that happened?
Guy killed one in Kansas last year that got out of a pen. It was giant. He killed it during bow season or something. And it
probably
got
two and a half. It's probably a 2.5-year-old 300-inch buck.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Exactly.
I mean that's kind of that whole point of like shoot whatever you want to shoot, but like a lot of the guys they don't care if it's a 5-year-old 125 or a 2-year-old 125, and it's 125 they kill it. That's Eberhard's model.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of one of those guys either. So a lot of guys are about age of a buck,
Mm-hmm.
but you're talking 125 shit, okay?
Yeah.
I get a 190-inch typical buck that comes on me, and I know he's 2.5 years old for sure. He's getting a fucking arrow in it. It's just the way it's going to go down. I ain't waiting for the 190.
Yeah.
Because 99% of the time he won't make it. If I show you some of the deer that I've passed and let trying to make it to another year. We had a conversation about this with some other friends that are pretty serious hunters, and the harder we work at trying to grow or produce a big animal, it just don't work. Everything's got to line up. It's nature that lines up. You can do you can do an aid and help, but I don't know. You just can't do it unless you're
There's too many factors you can't control.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
You're shooting a 192-year-old. You'd shoot it.
Yes.
I don't think so.
I like that.
Hands down.
No way. On your property?
Yeah. What do you think? You know how many of my neighbors kill the big deer on my properties that wander off?
Yeah.
They don't make it. Matter of fact, that was the other thing about you're bashing on guys that own properties and manage deer.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody on a piece of public land should go thank the neighbors next to their land. That's where those deer are coming from, brother.
No
100%.
shit, man. I mean, the fact that we invest how much money and resources and time into growing those deer, we don't have fences up. They're gonna walk right over onto your public land.
And when I moved into some spots in Wisconsin, nobody's ever killed a Pope and Young on adjacent property to property I bought. In Iowa, borderline shit. My lease is in Illinois. These guys come over, and as a matter of fact, I got a thank you fucking email the other day. He shot a 187-inch mainframe 8 that grew up from this property, from the management we did, and he's killed big deer every year because he's getting spill off.
Jeez.
So I'm managing because I just like to manage. My bar is higher, but I don't give a shit if he shoots the one, And when guys come hunting with me too, I say that all the time. Man, if you want to kill the first 140 that comes out, I hope you kill that thing and get the hell out of here and let the big one for me. I don't want you chasing around the 190, So
well, dude, that's the unfortunate nature. Like, and it's not the fault of any public land hunters, but in its very nature, it's a taking thing. Like, it's just there for us to be able to hunt. There is no way to contribute from a management standpoint other than not shooting something.
And 100%, I never rag on anybody shooting a 125 on a public land.
No, senor.
No.
I had a guy, I was so pissed off, I almost popped this fucker. We were at a registration station. This was back in the day.
You see Andre's hat, by the way? You missed this. We had a whole discussion and you missed it.
Oh, jeez.
So this kid comes in with his first deer. It's a tiny little freaking buck. All happy to hell, a few guys patting him on back. And this idiot comes in with this 4x4, jacked to the freaking ceiling, huge mutters, big buck killer fucking on his front grill. And he's got this, and he starts ripping us, and he's got a bigger buck on his hood. And I literally says, what the fuck are you ragging on him for? What that little piece of shit you got on your hood for? It was a tiny freaking buck also. What are you ragging at this kid for? Because you know what? My biggest buck, your biggest buck is somebody else's little rag buck. So you better be careful of ragging on anybody. And enjoy the sport, man. Kill some deer, get some under your belt before you start holding out for world-class deer. That's not a good recipe, man. And I'm going to tell you the peer pressure now.
Oh, it's crazy.
Guys must feel with this social media. It's not like it seems like everybody else is out there killing big deer but you.
There's
millions of bow hunters out there, and there's a lot of them ain't getting shit. So it's just try and stay in that lane, and don't get all ruffled from that shit and who's the best this and best that.
Well, I mean, it's the instant thing. I mean, if you see any of these normally, unless it's a giant, somebody says, it wasn't my biggest, or, I was trying to hunt a bigger one, but, this one will do. Yeah. Or it's the first thing is a defense.
Always some kind of excuse.
Yeah, no, don't, man. I was, if you don't have the biggest, I would say if you don't have a bigger one that you want to drop or you want to set your bar for, go for the biggest one on your property. What I used to hunt for too is I want to hunt the biggest prick in my property. There are huge whitetail that are Gentile beasts that are not aggressive. They're just like cattle out there. That doesn't piss me off. I want that cocky son of a bitch that thinks he owns that fucker that was growling at me on that mountaintop. That's the son of a bitch I want to put an arrow to, you know?
He's like, I want a buck I can relate to.
Yeah. So instead of him pissing on my freaking stand sites, I go piss on his stand site, you know, but and they have personalities like that, dude. I'm telling you, some of these whitetail are
well, I mean, that's the cool thing about the cameras. You talked about Cody not using them. That's one of the things we talked about earlier is that, like, man, from, like, just camera intel, you can tell which of these bucks that you could buck roar at or whatever or snort wheeze, and he's coming in to kick some ass.
Get a sense for the personality, yeah. Especially camera
but here's the problem with cameras. So I own a camera, obviously, so I don't want to bash cameras, but and we're going to be coming out with some cell technology. Is the double-edged sword working to camera? You can make it your worst nightmare. I think he did that. He started. I got some guys that have cameras. They check them every freaking day. Overcheck them.
Yeah.
They're in too much. Their deer are patterning them. It's a tool, and I'm not going to say they should be outlawed, but I'm going to say it's freaking almost unethical to use cameras.
Yeah.
Years ago, I spent 2-3 weeks before the season just glassing, patterning deer and shit.
Yeah.
You can go set a camera out the week before and know everything that I never even freaking known in just a clip. Yeah. But it's legal, and I'm using it. I use them to my advantage, and I love them. It's
right.
Just to know not shoot one that you don't want is huge.
Right.
Well, that's like
it's huge from a management standpoint. So when you asked me if I had seen that deer before, I mean, the fact that I didn't have to age that deer on the hoof,
or even like know that he was a shooter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can be committed.
Many 3-year-olds have made it past because I didn't have to age them on a hoof. I knew who they were. I had pictures of them. I knew, and so I recognized them. And it's a lot easier to recognize a deer than it is to try to age them on a hoof.
So now you're ruined. You've been bit by the bug.
Oh yeah.
That's probably why. That's why you're wandering out here now in frickin' Iowa. You're looking for another 170. I know you are.
Well, we've been coming. We're going back to Kansas this year.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what trips your trigger. That's what you should do, man.
Oh, dude, we're all in, man. I mean, you talk about.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you talk about like connecting with people who love bow hunting. I mean, that's why we do the podcast. You know what I mean? It's fun to, learn tips and tactics, and that's all great.
No,
but
we
like,
just love
love connecting with people who share the passion that we do, because we just get ate up talking about it.
Yeah. It's crazy, ain't it? I mean, I don't know what it is.
It's awesome. Well, we say all the time, we're like, dude, what? If people aren't bow hunting, it's like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, that's why we have so many different. I mean, we hunt Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, Kansas. It's because, like, if I shoot a buck and tag out, like, I can't be done.
Next state,
like, I got to keep going.
Next state.
I don't want to sit on the bench.
Keep going, stack them up.
I wish I would have got onto that earlier in my career. I wish I would have went over to Illinois, because it was a tough nut in Wisconsin with the amount of hunters and the pressure.
Absolutely, man.
You know what? You just mentioned something. I'm trying to think now. I might embarrass myself here. I'm trying to think if I have a friend that doesn't hunt.
Yeah.
I don't think I do. Who the hell do I know that doesn't hunt?
We call those acquaintances.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't even have an acquaintance that doesn't hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a tough thing.
Landowners
and
stuff.
It's even
you
like
go to a wedding.
Yeah.
You go to a wedding and you find out some other hunter and you go sit frickin' and you guys are
dude, you're done. Yeah, that's it. First, like, pulling out my phone, like, hey, look at this one.
Ain't you gonna say hello to the groom? No, you don't hunt.
Yeah. The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Stealth Cam.
Dude, where would we be without our cell cams?
I would definitely be divorced at this point.
Yeah, I hear that.
I mean, the fact is I spent more time checking cameras than I actually did hunting prior to cell cameras. Now, at least, my wife can enjoy me being in the comfort of my own home, buried in my phone, checking those pictures.
Yeah, 100%. And dude, when it comes to trail cameras and definitely cell cameras, reliability is, I think, the number one thing that we're looking for. Stealth Cam just has a long reputation of reliable cameras, and ultimately that is the most important thing to us. They have to work.
In terms of reliability, there's not a better camera on the market than Stealth Cam, whether you're talking about the Fusion X, the Reactor, or the DS4K Transmit. And most of them are under $200.
Stealthcam.com. Check them out.
Well, and I mean, I think it also goes back to, like, when you set yourself and you set your bar high and you love bow hunting, like, I don't mind if I don't shoot something this year, as long as I'm just in the chase all freaking year. That's all I care about. I just want to
That's
be
good.
chasing all year.
That's good that you're like that. I'm not. I'm the opposite. I like to. Even now that I don't have enough stuff big enough to top my top bar, I like to kill a decent one at least every year.
Sure.
It's just the way I am. And if I look back, there's only 1 year in, I don't know if there's been 40 years probably bow hunting that I've not killed a deer that year.
Oh, interesting.
And it was because I gave it up for my 14-year-old daughter, and she shot a 152 class 8, and that was my trophy for the year. And I didn't mind, but when you're in this business, like I'm in, you go to shows and you guys are bullshitting about telling stories and that.
They expect
It's
you
really
to kill,
nice
dude.
to have. I'm a narcissist, man. I like to tell
Yeah.
stories and shit too, and it's nice to have something under your belt to talk about. But I don't need to kill another deer. There's a lot of guys out there that don't. So I kind of like I like to look around for like net 170s is kind of my goal. Try and find.
Okay.
And then that's what I'm gonna hunt for this year. And then in case some other world class shit runs, comes about. But and you guys are you're doing the right thing. Kansas is the mecca center for big deer right now.
Oh, hell yeah, man. It's getting overrun a little bit. I mean, because it was
it will get.
It was an every year draw
last year,
yeah. And now it's like every other maybe.
Yeah. But think about Kansas. There's guys taking 180-inch bucks out of there that are, to me, they're not. That's a trophy to most guys, but they're really just.
It's just a 180.
Maybe an average deer that got to 5.5 years old.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Nobody
genetics. They got a bunch of garbage that add up to that 180. They got a lopsided one side or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And guys eat that up. So.
Well, check this out, Andre. What's one of the things that's so great about living in Pennsylvania is like, yeah, it would be great to have easier access to Iowa deer or Kansas deer, but the fact that we get to go out there and hunt some 170, 180, 190-inch deer and then come back and show that off to our friends here, it's like can't believe it.
Yeah.
Why aren't you guys in Ohio? That's close.
I am.
Oh, yeah,
that's where my
are.
family farm's at. I spend most of my time.
Oh man, that Ohio is. I'm telling you that.
I texted it to you. That's where I shot that buck last year.
I chased the 200 plus in Columbus.
We're not far.
Last
We're half
year.
hour from the line, so we're not far.
We spend a lot of time in Ohio.
Jeremy's got a new farm in Ohio.
Yep, new farm Southern. I chased a giant like 210, 215 in Columbus last year.
I can't. What's in the water over there? What are they doing there?
I don't know, man. I mean, to be honest, they're doing all the wrong things. Like you can bait. I mean, over the counter tags are cheap as hell.
Do you think the one deer limit though is huge? To help it?
Maybe.
What do you mean?
Well, because like
you only get
Iowa,
one,
you can kill multiples.
Well, yeah.
You only kill one deer, and if you live in Ohio,
one deer.
You get one deer with a gun or a bow. You don't get to shoot one.
Iowa and Illinois, you can kill multiples.
So, what is your question? Would killing multiples help it?
No.
Is that they can't kill? Is that what's driving that?
That's part of it. Yeah,
100%. I mean,
in Wisconsin, in Iowa, I can go gun hunting and I can have I can fill 7 buck tags if I have 7 friends that have valid tags.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
And that shit's going on, and that's got to wear on the trophies.
Oh, it's terrible. Sure. I mean, dude, the biggest thing that's affecting the state of Ohio is corn piles.
Yeah, baits.
If we get rid of corn piles, it would be one of the best states out there.
It's not just it's not just killing big deer. It's killing the future big deer. Those 2- and 3-year-olds that are dumbasses at 140, 150 are getting shot like
and the
crazy.
big ones. I mean, do they all?
But
you're right. But yeah, but they all get killed off them things.
Yep. Yeah. If they took away corn piles in Ohio, you would kill giants every year.
Yeah,
for sure.
They should do a study in a Take-Up County.
We've got a good buddy from Coshocton, Ohio, Ben Rising. He has the Whitetail Edge.
Yep.
And I mean, dude, kills some. I mean,
he's a big buck.
Seems like his number is 4. He kills 4 giants every year.
in like in like a 10-day period.
And
he's one of those guys. If you're a whitetail in the woods, you want to get the hell out.
You want to get out of there.
Give it up.
No doubt.
Put the rack up and hand it over.
Yeah. We've had a lot of conversations with Ben about what corn piles have done in Ohio, and I mean, I think his opinion is pretty strong in our book, and so I don't know how you advocate to do something like that, and even if it was made illegal, it's like how do you enforce something that's been legal and it's so ingrained in people's hunting?
Yeah, you can't stop it.
It's a culture. It's I think because of EHD, I think they banned Wisconsin in a lot of areas, and then
yep.
a buddy of mine from way up north, and he was just putting some bait out. And I said, I thought Wisconsin was shut complete the bait. He said, no, that's just in them southern counties.
Southern counties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still baiting with beats up there and all that. And
well, I mean, like I think in Wisconsin, the Ernebuck has been the one that's kind of done that one in.
Ernebuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because some of these guys are just, like you said, you're just acquiring more and more tags, you know, when you're shooting those and stuff.
I had a friend one year, they gave unlimited doe tags out. I had a pretty nice little piece I owned there. I bought what the hell was it? It was a 10-acre parcel or something in the middle of some beautiful area there. And he showed me his trophy for the year, 7 adult does on a meat pole. The next year, he's crying to me wanting to come and hunt my property because he's got no deer to hunt. I said, you are not getting on this fucking property.
Crazy.
Pay the price for your freaking evilness for the 1 year now. Go look for a damn deer. That's still, and not a good management way to do it. Taking all the deer out of one spot like that, I don't know what the answer is, but
what do you think about Illinois now, Andrae?
As far as
just quality.
Illinois is still producing some tanks.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. There's something in the soil or something in the genetics that's just they produce some tanks. So when I used to do the classics years ago, you'd go to the deer classics and everybody bring their deer heads in, and you'd have Wisconsin would have 3 full aisles of Pope and Young plus whitetail. Then you'd go to, but they're all Pope and Young class deer. Then you go to Illinois and they only got like 1 aisle, and they're all just giants. So it's like less volume, less hunters running in and registering them, bigger deer. Wisconsin, everybody was into scoring, and if they'd shoot up, everybody run to the classic and put it in. So we had a bigger volume of trophies. And I think what happened in years in Wisconsin is that trophyism took over. Guys started raising the bar, and look at the world-class shit coming out of Wisconsin now. Every state's producing just phenomenal deer out of the state. So
your comment on the record book thing I think is interesting. It's almost like the social media has kind of taken the place of the record book in terms of the notoriety. Like we obviously still have the same scoring system from Boone and Crockett and Pope. But nobody's checking their bucks in. They're taking it and saying, "Hey, I got a 175-inch gross. I scored it myself, and here it is on."
That's
Facebook.
what I was going to say when we were talking about these guys who are like the unknown big buck killers, right? They're not in the fucking book.
Yeah,
they're not turning in their deer. So the only if I look at the records, which I was looking at the Boone and Crockett records the other day. It's like, okay, this guy's got 4 in there. Yeah, he's a good hunter, but that's just because he's submitted the 4. I'm sure there's a better hunter out there that's killed more deer. They're just not submitting
dude,
shit.
Even my attitude is almost just like, I would be anti-book. I'd be like, I don't want this thing in the book. Like, this is my deer. Like, I'm not putting it in the book.
It's anti.
So when I had that one buck, I scored that deer within a half an inch of what the. So when you get a deer that's in the top in the state, it has to get panel scored.
Yeah.
So you get one from Pope and Young, one from Boone and Crockett, and then one from your state organization. That's a conservative. Nobody wants to give anybody anything or any little extra shit. So it's a conservative score. You're not going to get what you get from some private guy maybe or whatever. And there was a burr on the main beam of that one, and I scored it. And if I went up low and around on it, I beat the state record. If I go high on it, I miss it by a little bit. And I'm watching these guys. I'm sweating this out, and I'm watching them score. And there's the one guy, and he's bouncing back and forth on this little spur. And the main guy is watching. I'm looking at this guy, and he goes, nope. And he goes, takes the fucking shit road. And I'm like, damn it, it's just
lost it.
The nature of the beast. So there's a lot of that going on. And I never really was one out to go score my deer. People came.
Sure.
Official scores, and you got to share that with the public. And then I don't know if I was too cheap to even spend the $25 on the thing back then or what it was, but so I put a lot of those in because I was approached to have those scored because they were top deer in them states. So
gotcha.
Which
for me to score this, I can score deer. I know all the loopholes of the different things on that. And the one buck that was scored, if you go according to their rules and regulations, it's a typical tine on the deer that that was scored that would have made that number 2 in that state, but they just this common base shit.
Well, it's subjective. That's what it comes down to.
What is that?
And it shouldn't be subjective. It should be. It's in the book.
Well, and that's
if it
where
leans forward.
Yep.
There's a match in one on the other side.
Yep. The King Buck from Wisconsin got the same thing. Like it should have been a new world record, and it got hit with this common base basically 2 times if they share what seems to be a webbed base. Now one's non-typical, the other one's typical, and it blows it up.
Oh, wow.
That's it. It blows the score.
Yeah, but if you saw it in half along the main beam, it's got a figure 8.
Absolutely.
Then there's all these things that constitute it. But here's the thing that they shouldn't be able to. It's a political deal now. It's all bullshit.
That's it. One guy.
My buddies get the good scores. My enemies get tossed out. Type of shit. It's just not.
Well, the problem is one scorer could look at that and score it and say, "Yep, new whatever, typical state record." Another scorer could come in and say, "Yeah, common base," and it won't even rank in the top 20.
Yeah, that's why you gotta have a.
Seems like there should be a difference in so if you have your main beam, let's say it's like 4 1/4 inches around on either side or whatever, maybe one's a 1/4 inch bigger. Seems like that webbing should have to have a degree of differentiation from this to be considered. It shouldn't be subjective.
It is so.
Well, that's your problem. It's like, hey, if this webbing constitutes an additional 35%
that would require them
increase
to change the rules, and they won't do it.
Well, that's not, nobody's putting their bucks in her. Fix the rules.
I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah, so there's little nooks and crannies where a lot of people understand. There's the main beam rule that you can't get a bigger, wider spread measurement if the main beam is shorter. There's all kinds of, that you could take a brow tine, you can measure it up the front, or you can measure it out the back, and you can take the biggest of the 2 scores. With that webbing deal, you can draw a line straight through, and there's an advantage to that there could be too. So I don't know. It's, to me, I know what trips my trigger. I know what I get on the ground, what I like on the wall, and like when I see a deer come out and I see a rack, and then I got to make. I hunted a buck that was 250. It was a day. If it was an inch, and I literally hundreds of yards through open hardwoods was looking at the spur and the base of the brow tine. That's what I focused in on. I'm looking at them like, what the frick is that? And all of a sudden, this frickin' bush just turned. Jesus. It was like a typical 14 with stickers out every time. The most beautiful. I'm not into non-typicals, but when they're typical non-typicals, that's a nice looking buck and shit. And it was just unbelievable that there's even something like that could be out in the wild.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, Andre. I mean, how frickin' incredible is it that deer, they're out there.
Well, dude, just the deer are out there. I say that all the time out on my farm. I'm like, how crazy is this? These things live out here. Yeah. Like, they're just out here.
Yeah.
Well, with all of us chasing them around with these freaking sharp points, sticks. So.
Shit.
No, it's enjoy the sport. It's a great life. And just when you get eaten up with it so quick, you're waiting for fall. You enjoy fall, and the years will just keep going by and by, man. So
you only get.
I don't have as many hunts left.
Well.
As I did in my tank, but I'm gonna enjoy them. I got some grandkids coming up, and my niece is phenomenal little bow hunter. I'm gonna probably try and take her under my wing and shooting a recurve out of Lone Wolf stand on a pole. I bet it was a 10-yard shot. She was shooting at a wolf target, hit a quarter like 5 times in a row. I'm like,
damn.
At first I thought it had to be freaking luck and shit. And I'm like, that's just amazing that. So maybe someone should take her under her wing and see if she don't like to kill stuff though. That's the problem,
Yeah. You still hunt with a recurve at all?
No, I hung up my recurve. You ever see the show Deliverance where the guy's going on it? That's me with a recurve. I don't ever want to have a 200-inch typical standing there with a recurve in my hand. I'd crumble. I take my hats off to those guys because that's
I've thought about it.
Yeah.
And I did too. Matter of fact, I was actually gonna because I'm shooting some smaller caliber deer now with these broadheads. I was ready to grab a recurve just to make it interesting too, and I tore my rotator cuff this year. So I tried to pull a recurve just the once, and it wasn't gonna work out.
No good.
Yeah. Compound, 54-pound compound, I can get back and deliver. So.
So are you going to be hunting mainly your property this year then, or are you still?
I'm hoping to get to Ohio this year and back to Illinois.
Okay, there you go.
So I'm really excited about Ohio because I like new ground. I like to scout and learn new shit because I'm getting to know these obviously properties pretty much inside and out, But
Can I ask vaguely, north, south, east, or west part of Ohio?
and you're gonna think I'm lying to you, but I'm going with a friend, and I don't even know exactly where it was. And I actually, in on a lease, I should know where it's at or been looking at the pictures already. I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
Old school, man. I'm gonna get down there and have a ball. And
Cool.
Out and hunt.
Dude,
there's a big deer there. So
I gotta say, man, I don't know if it was the Lone Wolf podcast or something that I heard Cody talking about his not using cameras and stuff for going old school, and I definitely can understand the appeal.
Yeah,
I get it.
Okay, so he was doing it because not for the appeal that we're talking about now, that you'd make it a more challenge.
Yeah,
it was costing him deer. He was thinking.
Yeah.
See, and I have some guys that are like that now. You cannot, and it's hard if you're not getting pictures on your camera.
Yeah.
You think that there's not a deer there, dude. You cannot count on them getting. I had cameras out all over this property early for 3 weeks, I think it was. Wasn't getting any good ones, and then right across from my house, there was a bachelor group of 6 bucks that were all bigger than every other buck that was on every camera that I'd never even seen for 3 weeks on camera. So,
dude, I'll bet you today, Andre, that is one of the biggest culprits of big deer not getting killed.
Yeah. You just don't hunt when they're not on camera.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. Yeah, 100%.
Read the sign. I use it for a tool. It's those cell cameras are again they should be
they're deadly.
They are deadly, but they also scare the shit out of deer. So you got to learn how to use those without having screwed up the property. I've in field testing them and developing stuff because I have patents on some new ones coming. I learned some shit about those cameras. So I sit while I'm hunting now sometimes, and I'm videoing, filming, and I'm watching cameras I got set up that I can watch from while I'm hunting, and I see what you'll never see. And I see shit that you would never even believe that happens. A bunch of deer go by with Excel camera. You got all those pictures, and I'm watching 2 other deer freaking out and doing a half moon around, watching the camera the whole way. You never seen that on that camera. You don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
And I've seen deer. I set up personally cell cameras where they wouldn't be able to spot them physically. Just the camera going off and watch them literally turn around and break their neck and look right at where the camera was at when it went off. So
you think sensing. That's like an EMF sense?
Yeah, it's a frequency that all cameras put out different frequencies.
Yep.
If you ever do some studying, want to do some research, look up the patent I have on it. There's some information there, but just you could Google what a whitetail doesn't like as far as frequency levels, and if your camera's got that frequency level, it's like a dog whistle to them. You don't hear it, you don't know it, but they'll stay away from it, and they know it's in a regular non-cellular. You're not hiding the camera. A deer knows the camera's there.
Yeah.
Some tolerate cameras, some don't. We got huge bucks that'll tolerate some cell cameras, and other ones that just will not. But there are cameras that have that literally changed the entire pattern of my property one year, and I had to go dive in and start watching cameras instead of deer to figure out what was going on. It was scary as shit. That camera couldn't even do that. So we have some stuff coming out that'll absolutely 100% fix that problem. You'll never have to worry about a freaking deer knowing even the camera's around. Hopefully we get a patent on it and we get a big company to take it and license it, and then we'll have at least a tool that is not hurting us. But the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages for.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yes.
Makes
yep.
sense.
I'm a coward. I'm unethical. I use cell cameras too. So
well, dude, we talk about the corn piles here in Ohio, and as much as we'd like to see them not used, I've got 7,500 pound of corn in my
tool.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I come from a state that was heavy in baiting, and I won't even share what I know about baiting because it'll ruin everybody. Will kill anything they want with food on it. So I won't share it with anybody. But it's a tool. You need to know when to get the hell off the pile.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys will burn up a valuable week of hunting.
Oh, they'll sit on it.
Holding to that corn to
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So read what's going on, follow it, use it as a tool. Don't use it as a tool. Have a good time with it. You know, it's matter of fact, what time is it? Is it time to get out? And,
Yeah,
work?
it's about time to get out.
You guys just cost me a freaking day in the woods.
See that? Hour and a half, just like that. We suckered you into it.
No.
I got plenty of time.
Well, listen, man, it was awesome to steal you for a while here, Andrae. I mean, Jared and I share that passion for frickin' bow hunting and whitetails. I mean, anybody listen to this, you know if you're ate up with it or not. It's pretty clear.
I could sense it in you guys. That's why. I guess that's why I finally returned that email.
Yeah,
I know. I say, hey, I'm a businessman too. I'm gonna get him.
I get it. No,
Squeaky wheel gets the grease, right,
That's
man?
right,
So
brother.
you get that grease. So.
Speaking of which, you got a flat tire on your vehicle out there. You're gonna have to change so you can actually get your forklift running.
I'm gonna have somebody just come in and put 2 new ones on it. Screw it.
Shit, man. Well, we appreciate it, Andrae. Thanks for joining us and
thanks for letting me bend your ear. It's enjoyable sometimes.
Damn, man.
100%.
We really do appreciate it. It's an honor to have you on and bend our ear, man. We're always soaking up knowledge and just want to hear the shit.
Send me pictures, man. I enjoy pics from.
We'll do, man. We'll stay in touch.
There you go.
They ain't got to be world class either.
No,
but that typical 12,
I don't have any, so that's all right.
Yeah. We'll kill something that'll be proud.
Yeah,
hopefully.
man. We'll keep you posted.
All right.
All right, buddy.
You guys take it easy.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. In the words of Andrae D'Acquisto, fucking awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, it is funny because we were talking like pre-podcast, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are gonna like steal me for that long, dude." It was like butter.
Yeah.
Butter for
They
that.
always are.
Well, I mean, it's cool, and I first of all honor from our standpoint for Andrae to be like, "Yeah, you guys, I can tell you have the fire," and it's like, "Yes, we do."
There's been a few guys that we've had on the podcast with respect to everyone that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the lone wolf. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
the lone wolf.
He gave credit to his wife for coming up with the name, which is interesting.
Well, dude, our wives always come up with the best ideas. So
we're just thinking about killing shit.
Yeah. We take the credit.
Yeah. Interesting though. I mean, first off, did he address like Eberhard calling people out?
I didn't realize at first, and then I was like, I think he's talking about that. So I'm gonna say yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna say yeah. It was either that or he'd had a run-in in the past that he was.
It sounds like he did have a run-in in the past with him as well. Well, John just rubbing people the wrong way, man.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Interesting though. I think it's cool. Like you hear Andrae talk about like those humble beginnings of like multiple times, like hunting 10-acre parcels and just killing bucks, just like killing rack bucks, like get it done. What I think is most relatable with Andrae and us is that evolution.
Yeah.
Like the constant, he mentioned the athlete piece, which I think we've talked about in the past. Like, dude, that continual like strive to be better is like, that's a big part of my life in a lot of ways, but especially in hunting. Yeah. It's like, and he ran out of rope at some point, which is something that we've discussed so much.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's crazy to kind of talk to somebody who's like, yeah, I did it. I did it. I
climbed Mount Everest and then there's nothing left.
The score, my goal, and ultimately realized yet that just, you run out of rope with that essentially.
Yeah. I mean, killed a 200+ inch typical and a 215 inch non-typical. And he's like,
did it.
Now what?
Where do you go from there?
Well, he regressed.
Yeah.
In a weird way, he regressed. Yeah. And part of that I bet was probably where he was. No knock to him, but age demographic.
Yeah.
Because he definitely could have went back to like recurve. He could have like he just figured, okay, I've climbed the mountain. Now I'm done.
I get the sense, and I don't know, I won't put words in his mouth, but it almost seemed like where he's getting satisfaction from it now is like in just the precise execution of his setup and pairing that with the confidence to get a mature animal killed.
Yeah.
To go in and do it so effectively, and I'm sure it's every little detail. Like if
everything
something
goes
falls
up
out of his
head,
stand or he makes a noise it shouldn't make, like I've sensed that he's reached a level of a just like you would with like I don't know, like a NASCAR driver.
Yeah, race,
imagine
whatever.
somebody who's at their peak performance level, and now you're fine tuning such small things that it's like, well, if I just adjust this, there's a level of perfection that's being sought.
I imagine there'll be a mature buck in Iowa this year that will step into a shooting lane and look up, and there's Andrae D'Acquisto smiling, saying, "Gotcha, bitch," and just smack. Yeah, and I think that's the level of satisfaction he achieves at this point.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like in business too. He's had a lot of ups and downs, I think, throughout different multiple businesses that they've bought, owned, and sold, and bought back. And we didn't really get into the history. Maybe we'll save it for the next one. Well,
it was cool that he, I think that last part that he really summarized, where he gets a lot of, call it happiness, I guess, out of all of the thousands and tens of thousands of guys who are succeeding because of something he was involved in.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's a cool way to look at it. For a guy who's accomplished the pinnacle, to say, well, I still want to keep doing stuff for myself and succeeding, but I also really thrive off of success of others. Because case in point, John Eberhart doesn't necessarily agree with that same model.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, dude, super cool to have Andrae D'Acquisto on, and we're just getting into it here now. I guess that this podcast is going to drop towards the end of October.
Yeah,
and so we're battening down the hatches here. We're gonna, for sure, we've got, I think, 2 podcasts scheduled,
and we'll see you next month.
And that's it for 2022 HUNTR Podcast.
And we'll see you next month. No, we're trying to get. We're going to keep them rolling weekly. It's just we won't be doing them weekly.
Yeah,
based on fronts and hunting opportunities, and
I don't know. We actually may have just gotten back from the Big Woods,
Shirk.
Steve Shirk, and so we'll have to.
We'll be prepping for Thursday. We're about to hit the home stretch here of it's go time. So,
all right.
Well, cool. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed episode 97 with Andrae D'Acquisto.
Hope you're driving out of state or to deer camp somewhere right now. Maybe
cold front's blowing in. Your nipples are hard.
Piercing glass, baby.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Later.
Take me down the river where the guilt can't find.